Good morning, everyone. My name is Juan Carlos Pacheco. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ExstoBio, where it's our mission to set the standard of patient care through precision cannabinoid therapeutics. Now, while the medical benefits of cannabis have been clear in the lab and anecdotally in practice, the standard of patient care is extremely low. This has left the patient-physician relationship fractured, patients exposed, and a massive opportunity gap that's waiting to be filled. Now, to understand this a little bit more, let's dive into what the process is for a medical cannabis patient. If I'm a medical cannabis patient, I go see my doctor. The doctor thinks that cannabis therapeutics are going to be the most beneficial treatment option for me. They license me as a medical cannabis patient, and that's where their guidance stops. As a patient, I get my medical cannabis card. I go to a dispensary, which is where I'm met by a bud tender, a non-medical professional, most likely a non-scientist, and chances are they're probably high or stoned. The recommendations for patients are typically based on two things: anecdotal evidence. So if I'm an anxiety patient and there's a patient that goes in before me with anxiety and have a product work, that's the product I'm getting recommended. Second, they're retailers. They have inventory coming in the next week, so they have an inventory push that they've got to go through. It's not based in science, and it's not based on strong data. ExstoBio believes that patients deserve better. Doctors should feel confident in the care that they're providing patients, and that we can fix this through our technology. That's why we are equipping doctors with ExstoAI to provide precision cannabinoid therapeutics, personalized treatment, and monitor patient progress. No longer when you go see your patient or your doctor for medical cannabis, will you just be given a medical cannabis card and be expected to be your own pharmacist. Rather, your doctor will be able to give you precision dosing, detailing dosage amount, frequency of administration, cannabinoid profile, terpene profile, essentially everything you experience and expect from a typical prescription that just simply isn't there right now with cannabis. Patients are left to decide on their own. Second, a simple treatment tracking app for patients so they can start to track their treatment. They can understand if it's working. They can have red flags if there's any potential negative interactions with drugs that they're already taking or being co-administered. And this integrates on the backside with a physician dashboard so that doctors can start to understand as well patient's treatment, the patient journey with medical cannabis, intervene if there's any negative side effects coming about, and make sure that patients are actually adhering to their medical cannabis treatment. And what's exciting about this is that the low standard of care right now in the medical cannabis industry, the market is still exploding. With a compounded annual growth rate of nearly 23% and the market projected to reach $57 billion, the medical cannabis market is exciting as it is right now. However, when you look at just the top 10 indications for medical cannabis, you experience and see a massive, massive opportunity gap of $280 billion. And from the interviews we've had with doctors and the understanding we've gone through customer discovery, why are doctors not prescribing cannabis right now? Because they want to see the science behind it and they want to understand the data from what they're giving to patients. That's where ExstoBio steps in. We equip the doctors with a science-based, data-driven approach to provide precision care. And in terms of our business model we're looking at right now, there's a company in a different industry that did very well in their approach, Hims and Hers, who started off just as Hims. They started with one issue that had a stigma: erectile dysfunction. Everyone loves talking about that, right? No. So what did patients do? They didn't want to go see their doctor. They didn't want to go pick up their ED medication in a pharmacist. And Hims overcame this by giving them ease of access to doctors who were specialized in ED. They were able to provide direct-to-consumer product fulfillment, overcoming the stigma and meeting patients where they're at. Cannabis still has a stigma. Chances are, if 75% of the people in here approve of cannabis, but 75% of the people won't tell people that they approve of cannabis in public, and let alone if they're actual medical cannabis patients. So what is ExstoBio doing? We're equipping doctors to provide precision care with cannabis from the comfort of their home via telehealth with their doctors. Second, Our federally compliant products are able to ship direct to consumer right now. And finally, just as Hims expanded into other men's health issues and then eventually into women's health issues as well, ExstoBio has the exact same opportunity, expanding into many different indications that cannabis can be applied to, as well as other nature-based therapies that have similar issues, such as psilocybin. Our team is led by experts in AI, business, cannabis, law, and science. I recently graduated from UNC Chapel Hill with my JD MBA, and my co-founder, David Lee, and chief pain scientist, is completing his PhD in neuropharmacology, studying cannabinoid 1 and cannabinoid 2 receptors. Dr. Kyle Jensen recently finished his PhD and postdoc at Duke University, where he studied cannabinoids and epilepsy. Our team of advisors are leaders in their research field, in the cannabis industry, and in scaling and selling businesses. We just launched our series pre-seed raise for $750,000, and the majority of that capital will be put in to our technology development. We'll get a beta version and launch a pilot project with 10 different doctors getting the technology in their hand to start providing precision care to their patients. Thank you so much. Open to any questions.
Yeah, that's great. Good presentation, Juan Carlos. Thank you. I just want to point out, I always say there's 8 things I look for in a pitch. I really liked your journey on the bottom there, the problem, solution, market, team, opportunity. It was a good way to frame it over 6 minutes. But the one thing you didn't tell me is how you make money.
Definitely. Happy to share with that. So our technology, ExstoAI, will be a subscription software as a service. And we actually have multiple revenue opportunities along the way with that in the smaller tier. So first, software as a service to doctors, monthly subscription fee that they're able to do. In our recommendation system, not only will it provide the formulation that we recommend, but also products and storefronts that are trusted, quality, and consistent, where the patients can go pick up those products. So with companies who want to be on the recommendation system, where the doctors, who are the gatekeepers of the entire industry, are recommending products, that's a royalty fee or a subscription for the companies that want to come on. Same with storefronts, that they are able to rise to a certain level of standard of care where we know their products are consistent, quality, and are targeted towards particular indications as well, so we can charge a fee from them.
So I cheated a little bit last night and looked at your website. So I know that there's a clinician piece to this, as well as selling product. Is that all part of your SaaS subscription, access to a clinician? Or is there incremental fees for both of those?
Definitely. So our first and foremost product or service is our technology. What's very exciting about our technology is we're collecting a lot of data on cannabinoids, terpenes, formulations that work and some that don't work. And we can simply leave that data there, or we can put that data to work. And creating cannabis products is relatively cheap. So we're developing right now whether we want to license out those formulations to companies and just allow them to focus on the product, or do it ourselves. The products you saw on our website, they were essentially what we did manually, what we want our technology to do automatically, in our proof of concept, which turned out very, very well. We've gotten great results.
Okay. So go ahead, Chris.
That was a great presentation. How many of y'all would agree he did a great job? So you got a good team, you're in a hot market, and there's not really an established leader. And I'm prepared to tell you who's going to win in this thing, right? It's the company with a good product and outstanding distribution. How do you propose to distribute this?
Yeah, so going back to our main product is the technology. So we'll be working directly with doctors. So while we're interested in even looking for a license to distribute our own product, our main focus really is on doctors.
The channel of doctors.
Is channel,
okay.
Because when the doctors are the
your proposition is they're going to pay you to use your software.
That's the goal right now, yes. We have the opportunity, since we have different revenue opportunities along the way with the products and the storefronts, is to get doctors on board, offering the service for them is free, because really the data is extremely powerful in what we're doing.
So I'm old, right? And I've heard many pitches about selling software and technology to the medical industry, and most of them die, right? Doctors are among the stingiest target markets in the world, right? Have you successfully sold any SaaS software to any doctors?
So we haven't started selling to doctors yet.
So that's no, you haven't.
Correct.
Yeah. Why do you think you can do that?
So we have a product that doctors want. We've gone out and talked to doctors, explained to them our product. Doctors want to treat patients, and 76% of them approve of cannabis as a therapeutic option. The problem is only 2% have dosing knowledge. So in one sense, the kind of lower hanging fruit are doctors that are already treating patients with medical cannabis. It allows them to separate themselves from other competition on the market, other doctors, in the sense that if you go to them and you get your care, you know that the recommendations that they're providing to you not only are precision, you don't have to be your own pharmacist, but they're based in science and they're based in heavy data that's come out from the science.
Are there any ethical or regulatory barriers between you and having the doctors participate in the revenue as opposed to being the source of the revenue?
Do you mind repeating that?
Sure. Is there any ethical or regulatory limitation on you having the doctors get a revenue share as opposed to being licensees?
So we don't plan to revenue share with the doctors. We plan to charge the doctors a subscription fee, and then the product companies that would want to be on our recommended list, that revenue would come to us.
Okay.
Juan Carlos, going back to distribution, so if you're selling to doctors, how are you going to find the doctors? Or do you have an enterprise sales force that is knocking on health practice doors? Are there large, could you sell this to Atrium Health? I'm just making that up. But what is that strategy? Because selling software, so you're in healthcare and then you're selling software, there's a couple of different approaches to that. What's your approach there?
Definitely. So our main targets are individual doctors and then clinician networks, as you said. And we have a tiered approach. The tier 1 approach is the lowest hanging fruit. These are doctors that are already treating patients with medical cannabis. The second is targeting doctors that are specialists, so doctors that are specialists in chronic pain, epilepsy. We've also started exploring into autism spectrum disorder, sleep clinics. So these are doctors where cannabis is already very, very well known. Patients are already using it for these particular indications, but the doctors just haven't necessarily entered into it because they don't know how. So that's the second tier. And then the third tier, particularly as federal legalization continues to trend positively, is getting into the much larger networks. Because insurance is also a very interesting play here, in the sense that there are products that insurance companies are covering that are quite expensive, and with cannabis being relatively cheaper option for them, if they can show a precision product via cannabis that they can cover at a much lower rate, that would be also very...
So it sounds like you're saying feet on the street, actually, yeah. So you're going to need a lot of feet on the street to knock on physicians' doors. So I don't know the answer here, but one would be, there's a lot of people that are knocking on physician doors every day, obviously, that are selling, drug reps, for example. I'm not saying that's your channel, but you're going to need a sales force in order to be knocking on doors. So think about that.
And I liked everything about your presentation. The Q&A has been just okay, in my opinion. Selling to doctors is playing the game on hard mode. There's a lot of ships that have been wrecked on those rocks. And you're smart and you're impressive and you got a good team. And the people who came before you weren't dumb either. Selling to doctors is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Definitely, and one of the ways I'm trying to approach that is we have our advisory board, and now we're building out our medical advisory board, because doctors listen to doctors. Y'all are absolutely right, especially as someone who's not a doctor, going in and speaking with doctors, it is very challenging.
We have time for one question. Yeah.
I have a question, kind of, again, rolling on hiring. You guys did it first, and how their approach was basically giving patients access to telehealth. Basically, you have your own in-house team of doctors, basically partially handling it. Is that a possible approach of instead of going and pitching every doctor in their own office, essentially bringing doctors in-house into prescription writing team and making on the side of it?
That's one of the ways we've looked at it. Our director of patient care, Dr. Carly Bell-Biggins, she's been treating patients with cannabis already. So we've kind of been piloting it through her that way. But with getting access to bigger doctors, it would just, doctors are expensive to hire. So it would be much more cost effective just selling them the software, but it's one of the areas we've been looking at as well.
That's it. Time.
Thanks, Juan Carlos.